So first, I wanted to let you know that tomorrow here in City Hall will be hosted the annual Good Government Awards, which is an awards ceremony that's been going on for the last 38 years to recognize outstanding job performance among the management of the city and county of San Francisco. It's a unique opportunity that we have in the city to acknowledge the city's top managers for their leadership, their vision and ability to make a difference, both within the city government and the community at large. There were more than 50 nominations for the 5 people or teams that were selected, and I'm pleased to announce that Sonali Bose, our Deputy Director of Finance and Information Technology and CFO, will be honored, was one of those who was selected to receive a Good Government Award tomorrow night. As you know, during her, it says 12-year tenure, I think it's only been 11, but we'll give her 12. Agency has received its highest credit rating, and we have the highest credit rating of any transit agency in the country. She's helped stabilize and grow SFMTA revenues, led the quest for federal funding to support SF Park and other programs such as Pay by Phone and Muni Mobile. There's a large list of achievements that I listed on the nomination form, and pleased that she'll be recognized for her great work. So anyone who wants to come, it's tomorrow night in the North Light Court. It's here in City Hall at 6 p.m. A couple of project updates. One is that the Wiggle project, which was probably quite a while since it's been before you, has now been largely completed, the construction of it, and this is the Wiggle Green Corridor project that's in the Lower Haight, which is one of the city's most critical bike routes. It links the west side of San Francisco into the Market Street corridor. It's one that I myself ride often. The project was a collaboration between Public Works, the MTA, and the Public Utilities Commission to not only improve safety in the neighborhood, but to implement green infrastructure treatments on 3 of the blocks. So if you go there today, you will see that the parking strips on those blocks have been replaced with pavers that are permeable, so to let the water go down back into the earth instead of into the storm drain system where it has to be processed and discharged into the bay. But of course, very significant safety improvements as well. Lots of bulb outs, there are raised crosswalks, and a number of other improvements, including a change in the traffic pattern where Scott hits Fell so that auto traffic can no longer continue south on Scott or go south from Fell onto Scott, which is where we have a lot of turning bike activity, previously a site of collisions. So also some new bike signals, signal timing, I know it was a difficult project for the neighborhood because it was fairly intrusive, but the work is done now. It looks great, and I just rode through it yesterday. It performs well. It feels much safer in terms of riding through, I think, for all road users. So good news on Scott Street and the rest of the Wiggle project. Also, another one that was before you quite a number of years ago is the Polk Streetscape project. And just wanted to give you the update that the work to build out some of the base infrastructure, such as the curb ramps, bulb outs, bus pads, road base, traffic signal, and street light underground utility work is progressing from all the way from Ellis up to Beach. And really what comes next is the surface work, which is the paving, the landscaping, and the striping. So some of that paving up at the north end will begin next week. There will be a phase that goes first from Lombard to Bay, second phase from Filbert to Lombard, and then a third from Vallejo to Filbert. We have continued with our partner agencies, and again, this is a multi-agency project, to work very closely with the neighbors and the businesses to do what we can to minimize disruption. And anybody who wants up-to-the-minute info can go to sfpublicworks.org/polk. 2 other project updates: the Castro Accessibility Improvements Project, which is a project to install a second elevator at the Castro station. This one will be on the south side of Market to better improve accessibility, is advancing forward. We had held 2 open houses earlier this month, as well as an online poll so that we could have the public weigh in on different design concepts for the elevator. We're gathering that feedback, and we'll bring that forward to the Civic Design Review process, which is under the purview of the Arts Commission later this month, so that we can keep that project moving forward and do so in a way that has a design that has support of the surrounding community. So I know we're eager to get that project in place and done, so happy to see the progress there. With the Van Ness Improvement Project, which I'm sure you all are seeing almost every day as you're coming by this, or at least anytime you come to this building, the construction is well underway. What I wanted to let you know is that we are seeking community members to fill vacated seats on both the Community Advisory Committee and the Business Advisory Committee. So we have two different advisory committees for this project, commensurate with the scale of this project. And I think we've gotten really a lot of value from both of these committees, and we want to make sure they're well populated with stakeholders that have a vested interest here. Both groups meet monthly to provide community guidance and provide recommendation and advice on ways that the city can support businesses during construction and how the city can support the residences and make sure the project goes as smoothly as possible. We do have information at our Van Ness Improvement website, so if you go to sfmta.com and search for Van Ness, you will find it. And the applications are due by Wednesday, April 4th, so we encourage any and all interested members of the community and businesses to apply. And then finally, I did want to make note of the fact that, as you've all heard by now, on Sunday night in Tempe, Arizona, an Uber vehicle operating in autonomous mode killed a 49-year-old woman named Elaine Herzberg, who was reportedly crossing the street in Tempe. We want to first, of course, convey our condolences to any friends and family of Ms. Herzberg and any others impacted by her loss. As we've indicated here, every traffic death is preventable, and certainly whether it's vehicles acting autonomously or not, the goal of Vision Zero is one that we will continue to strive for here. What this incident has kind of just raised, further into our awareness is that Vision Zero really does need to be central to the planning, to the policy, to the regulation, to the legislation that relates to autonomous vehicles. I think the upside is that, given that more than 90% of traffic collisions, the data suggests, are caused by human error, that suggests that autonomous vehicles done right could significantly, by an order of magnitude, reduce the incidence of traffic collisions on our streets. But that requires them to be acting in the way that, to be designed properly and performing in the way that they're designed. And I think this incident suggests that there's more work to be done, particularly in a dense urban environment like San Francisco, where you have people getting around in so many different ways. And unfortunately, cities have not had much of a seat at the table in the development of any of the policy frameworks that are guiding autonomous vehicles. The legislation that we're seeing coming out of Washington seems to be moving towards preempting cities and states from any regulatory role and obviating manufacturers of their responsibility in terms of liability. And I noted in the Chronicle story today, the police official from Tempe was quoted as saying, if it's the vehicle that was at fault, it'll be a big question about what we do about that. Who would be liable? Would it be the driver that was not driving? Would it be the company? Would it be the vehicle manufacturer? I think that's a huge body of law and policy that is not yet developed. Also, the safe operation of the streets, in streets like San Francisco. There has been some limited testing, but it's largely been done without the engagement of local transportation, law enforcement, safety officials, which just is another area of concern. So we're very optimistic about the potential for autonomous vehicles, but the development of the regulatory framework by which they actually get onto our city streets is really going to be important and really needs a city voice at the table. I do want to commend Mayor Farrell for calling on the autonomous vehicle companies to come and engage with us here in San Francisco. He's hosting many of them here on Thursday, particularly focusing on how they would interact with local city staff, such as police officers, ambulance, EMTs, firefighters, transit operators. That's one small piece of the work that's needed to ensure safety on our street. So we will keep raising our voice towards better regulatory, legal, and policy tools so that we can address these issues. But certainly a sobering reminder of what this technology is bringing.
Thank you, Director Riskin. We will get to board member comments and public comment on the director's report momentarily, but I note that we're joined by Supervisor Feuer, and especially on Tuesdays, we try to get our supervisors moving so that they're not stuck waiting. And Supervisor Feuer, is there something that you wish to address to us now, or is there an agenda item for which you are waiting?
Yes, Directors, I'd like to just make some comments about the budget. And if you will allow me, it's a very short speaking portion, so
Absolutely.
I know I have
I will just note for members of the public, if I may, the budget is a few items down, but again, out of courtesy to the supervisor, and given that there's multiple meetings going on during the day and we want her to use her time as best she can, we will allow this now. So, Supervisor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you, audience, for allowing me to speak first. Good afternoon, directors. Thank you for making the time for me this afternoon. As you continue to embark on your budget process, based on the feedback I have heard from my constituents, I wanted to present to you 4 primary concerns to bring up as you consider adopting your proposed budget. First concern is our MTA crossing guards. This program is a wonderful program in my neighborhood, and our schools and our school communities have depended upon the school crossing guards for years to deliver our students safely to school and safely home. We have had an issue with getting school crossing guards in our neighborhood. We're on the wait list, and every time I visit principals from these schools, they're asking me about when can we get our crossing guard. We have many walkers in our neighborhood. Our schools are absolutely full. We have neighborhood schools, and we have increased traffic on our streets, and they're going much faster now. Also, many of the streets surrounding our schools have no arterials, and that is why the school crossing guard program is so important. I know that MTA, and I've met with MTA about this issue, they can't maintain the optimal staffing level of 195 guards. It is hard to keep people in these jobs. Currently, they have a wait list of 19 intersections in need of crossing guards. I think MTA should consider incentivizing individuals to apply for these positions, increasing the staffing level to 20 hours a week. Working only 15 hours a week means no benefits for these people, and much of their day is taken up in the morning and then the afternoon. I could actually use them during these extra hours on my merchant corridors in a neighborhood where I constantly hear about traffic congestion and also unsafe intersections. SEIU estimates that the cost of this would be approximately $2 million. My second concern is taxi drivers. We've heard many concerns from taxi drivers, especially those who have paid $250,000 for a medallion, and that they are experiencing serious financial hardship. And the taxi driver fund that was established back in 2010 has done very little to benefit drivers who have paid a premium for their medallions. I am asking today that you would consider a program to provide some relief to our taxi drivers, especially for the ones that hold medallions that they paid $250,000 for. My concern number 3 are commuter shuttle fees. We know you've received a recommendation from the MTA CAC that a hearing be held on commuter shuttle and private transportation fees to be considered as part of the current budget discussions or as a separate matter. These hearings would help evaluate the assessments of additional non-regulatory revenue-generating fees that would benefit Muni. Because the CAC has advised us of certain inconsistencies within the public record regarding these fees, we would like the MTA to call for a hearing and to make sure we have a transparent and proper fee-setting process. And then concern number 4 is language access. From a report from 2015 to 2016, it shows that the MTA has spent $112,000 on on expenditures for language access. That's 1.1% of your $1.1 billion budget. I see that your interactions by language in Russian is 0 for that year. And in my neighborhood, I'm hearing constantly from my Russian community that are seniors and wholly dependent on public transportation. So I ask that you look into these 4 things. I will repeat them again. One is the MTA Crossing Guard program. Also, taxi drivers, some relief for the medallion holders, commuter shuttle fees, and again, language access. Again, thank you, directors, for allowing me this time to speak to you.
Thank you, Supervisor, for your interest in these issues and coming down in person. We very much appreciate it. We'll return to where we started on the agenda, or where we left off on the agenda, which is the director's report. Ms. Boomer, is there anyone who wishes to comment under public comment on Director Riskin's report?
I'm not seeing anyone there. Mr. Pilpel, do you wish to speak on the director's report? Okay. So no one else has turned in a speaker card, so they're...
Very good.
I see no one moving
so,
forward.
directors, are there any comments or questions following up with Director Riskin on his director's report? Seeing none, I will make a few comments. Number one, I'll save my longer speech for a year from now, but to Sonali Bose, I will just say it's an absolute pleasure working with you. You deserve this award. You're a professional and a friend, and you know, the fact that we have the highest credit rating in the country is something I take pride in. It's certainly something that you're responsible for, so congratulations on your award. The next thing I wanted to address was the Van Ness Improvement Project sort of advisory boards. And I suspect you've done outreach in the business community and in the neighborhoods and so forth and so on. And have we done outreach to the supervisor, well, the supervisor who has that area to the south and the supervisor who has that area to the north?
Yeah, I'm certain we have. I think there are actually 3 supervisor districts that the project runs through, and usually one of our first stops is going to the supervisor's offices to get recommendations and to help push it out. So I'm sure that we have.
Wonderful. And then the other idea I had, which just to raise, is you know, it sort of makes sense to go to the businesses and the political leaders and the folks that are fixed there, but I would imagine that some of the commuters would be ideal candidates for this. So I wonder if we've put advertisements on the buses that serve that corridor now to let, you know, potential commuters know that we might like their participation in this if they want to participate.
That I don't know, but I'll see if we
That
have.
would be wonderful. And then finally, thank you for your strong statement on what happened in Arizona and for continuing to monitor this obviously important issue. I thought your comments were right on and most appreciated. So with that, I believe we move to item 10, which is the consent calendar.
It's actually